Hello everybody, this is Lektor Pro again. Today I will be finishing my case study about the nuclear disaster at the Chernobyl power plant. And today we will be focusing on the last two areas um, which I look at in my analysis, namely the post-accident crisis management and post-accident analysis. So let us begin. The post-accident crisis management. In other words, we will briefly discuss how the authorities and the operators um, managed the situation after the explosion, how they handled the crisis itself. We will focus especially on the mistakes made during that operation. Okay, so basically, one of the first major mistakes were the attempts to marginalize, to downplay the scale of the incident and the dangers involved, the dangers resulting from the explosion. First of all, the operators, especially the chief engineer, Supervisor Dyatlov, clearly ignored what had happened. He was acting as if he deliberately was denying the fact that there had been an accident. Secondly, when the first reports with the first readings of radioactivity levels started to arrive, he either dismissed those reports or tried to ignore them, or he uh, refused to believe them. Uh, mm, he uh, he seemed to be in denial of what the real situation was. Also, one of the project directors, Bruhanov, who was the, let's say, chief director of the plant, also was in complete denial of the facts. He tried to deny um, the radioactivity levels reported to him by the people he sent out to measure those levels. When the readings started coming in and all the readings were off the scale, he simply chose not to believe. He deliberately, knowingly ignored them. He even tried to make himself believe that this is impossible, that readings off the scale are simply not possible. And he confirmed those false results of the readings to his superiors, political superiors in Moscow. So we're looking at a man who denies the truth, who denies the facts, and even strengthened those false impressions and false belief in the minds of the authorities. Also, later, when the situation was becoming clearly to be getting out of control, the authorities, especially the local authorities at Pripyat, the city built around the power plant, they also tried to ignore the situation. They tried to they did not inform the local people, the local residents, that there are high levels of radioactivity in the air, levels which are exceeding all the norms. So people were completely unaware of what is happening. Also, the authorities, the central authorities in Moscow, immediately tried to cover up the fact of the incident, which was absurd because even in those days we had access to satellite communication, satellite surveillance systems, and there are various spots and places where radioactivity levels were monitored all the time. For instance, the first alarming reports that something might be wrong because radioactivity is higher than normal. First reports came from From Sweden, Sweden detected more than normal levels of radioactivity. They started asking questions, sending questions out to Moscow. Moscow first tried to deny everything until some other observatories and laboratories started confirming that the levels of radioactivity across Europe are alarmingly high, and everybody started looking for the source. So simply, it was impossible to hide this mm, denial, the policy of denial, denying the facts, uh, did nothing good. It only made things worse. These also another mistake was sending people to deal with the crisis, to handle the fire at the reactor without proper protection. For example, the first fire crews that arrived at the plant shortly after the explosion were exposed to massive levels of radioactivity. They were working without any kind of protection. They had not been told what exactly they are facing. So lots of those fire crews, the people in those fire crews, most of them died very soon after the incident. Mm, Horribly irradiated. They went through hellish symptoms of radiation sickness. They died in a really horrible way, and they were just the beginning. There were also plant operators, engineers, people who tried to cool down the reactor by flooding it with water. Lots of people died because they were not issued proper safety equipment, no hazmat suits, no protective gear, nothing. Also, this is another example of poor preparation or lack of preparation, how to deal with a crisis, how to deal with a critical situation. Okay, and let's move on to the last point, the post crisis analysis. Okay, so first, three important points covered by some American experts who are studying the incident at Chernobyl. Mm, the three lessons learned the Americans have taken from that incident were these. For example, first, additional training and more respect for procedures is required. So, simply speaking, we must respect procedures. We must pay a lot of attention to training people operating such technology. Importance of containment. So it was critically important to have a containment vessel around the reactor, which the RBMK type reactor at Chernobyl did not have. I mentioned this in the first episode, so if you want to know what is a containment vessel, please go over to my first video, okay? Or just write in comments. I will explain in comments what is a containment vessel. And secondly, greater need for procedures for training and understanding the technology. So, for example, if you're running a nuclear power plant, you have to make sure that you're sending people who are qualified, trained, and educated, not somebody who has finished a correspondence course. Mm, so these are the three main lessons learned the Americans had taken from the Chernobyl disaster. I also added a couple of my own observations, also as a post-critical analysis. So the first point, which I would like to mention, is well, first of all, pressure on the managers. There must be no pressure on project managers at any time of the performance of the project. As we've seen, some of the managers and directors involved in the project, in the process of building and then supervising the reactor, they were under a lot of pressure, political and otherwise. This is never a good point. So project managers should never be under any kind of outside pressure at any time of the project. Secondly, greater care in selection of operators and decision makers, checking the background of the people who are supposed to be running the project. So, for example, Dyatlov was known for having a history of being rude to his employees. He also had been exposed in the past to an exceedingly high level of radiation contamination. So you don't send people who are rude, who are aggressive, and perhaps I know emotionally unstable to run an operation like that. So checking the background of the people is highly important, and proper selection of project managers and team leaders is also crucial. This was neglected or overlooked at Chernobyl. Another point, immediate reaction of in case of an emergency. So if something like that happens, an immediate action is necessary. In Ukraine, they tried to deny it. They delayed the decisions to declare the need for evacuation. 3 days. They waited 3 days until they finally decided that yes, we will declare an evacuation of the city of Pripyat. And in those 3 days, people had been exposed to massive, exceedingly high doses of radiation. So do not delay decisions during a critical situation. Uh, Information blackout, not informing the people, not telling them the truth. This is also out of the question. If a crisis is happening, we have to provide full information to everybody so that people and authorities know how to react. So no information blackout. Transparency. This is connected to being transparent, being telling clearly what is happening, informing the local residents about the potential dangers and how to prepare for them, how to deal with them. Next point on my list, informing the operators about all is design related issues. So if there was a fault in the reactor, the operators should have been informed. Withholding or keeping such information in secret, hiding them from the operators and managers is a catastrophic mistake, as we have seen. Another point, use of proper materials, materials that meet the norms and specifications of the project. So no substitutes, no cheap alternatives. If you have to use high quality materials, um, high quality elements, use high quality elements. Do not economize on that. And finally, one final point on my list. Well, safety first, not success. Leave your ambitions at home. Uh, some of the directors and project managers, such as Brukhanov, they were thinking about rushing the project. They were rushing the project because they were thinking about getting bonuses, premiums from the authorities for constructing the plant and finishing the project, maybe even ahead of the schedule. This had led to making a lot of other bad decisions. So again, think about safety first and not about bonuses or personal gains. So this is it. This is the final third part of my Chernobyl disaster analysis. I will make one more video where I will summarize what we've discussed in this case study, and I will also provide a list of some of the keywords and phrases that might be potentially useful for engineers or managers in their projects, not only related with nuclear technology. So this is the final part of my case study. There will be one more episode about with a summary. So this is all. Thank you very much for listening. I hope you enjoyed it. Please remember to like and subscribe my channel. Write in comments if you have any questions. That's all. Thank you. See you soon. Goodbye. Have a nice day.